This is on-nomi, a great new idea out of Japan. Online drinks with your friends when you can't be with them in person. Cheers. Hello everyone, Andy from Precision Hydration here yet again with another on-nomi, online drinks, and today I've rudely awoken a really good friend of mine. It's 3 in the afternoon in the UK. It's about 7 a.m. where he is in Northern California, and I'm having a drink with Chris Hauth. Chris, how are you doing? And
pretty good. Cheers to a coffee for me.
and a cup of tea here. I thought I'd keep it clean because I know you enjoy a beer, and it would have been a bit much for you for me to be sat here supping
Yeah.
away.
Any earlier we would have been pushing the margins.
Definitely, because I mean, well, we had a beer together actually not that long ago.
You're probably the last person I had a beer with.
Well, yeah, there you go. Because we were in Catalina Island, just off LA. We'd just done the OtillO Swimrun, and we were talking about this COVID-19 thing, weren't we? That was sort of on the horizon, and we were
Yeah.
getting concerned, but it happened quick, didn't it? After we left.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is we came home and ever so gently within 10 days the world was shut down.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
in
yeah.
that window, I actually got sick with a fever and really feeling lethargic and being very sick for about 48 hours. But then, and of course, I looked at my children and they were looking at me going, if you're the one who shuts down the schools all because of you, this will be a problem.
Yeah,
But luckily, it was just a stomach flu for
yeah.
about, because 48 hours I was great. Again, it was fine. So, but for a good 6, 7 hours there when it was really coming on and hitting me, I was wondering if we were on an island with 500 people, athletes in close quarters,
Yeah, living.
and somebody was a super carrier.
Yeah, well, there were people from all over the world racing, weren't there? So it was,
Yeah.
yeah, not
So
inconceivable.
my
So,
brain was moving that direction very quickly.
so you don't think it was just because I obviously pushed you so hard in that race that your body just gave up on you?
Yes, you did push me that hard because there was definitely some whining happening on my end of just not having the skills and the fitness that day.
Yeah.
It was a pretty unique scenario, but I'll be the first to
Mm.
admit I was not on my game that day.
Well, you didn't feel like you were early on, but I've got to say you came pretty strong at the end. You were pounding along on that last run, and we took a few out on the last swim as well. I think you found
Yes,
you.
we did. It's sort of when the diesel kicked in. It took a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah, no, that was. I think it worked out perfectly for me because it meant that we eased into the race as we'd said we would, and we finished strong. So it was a good one.
Yeah.
I wonder whether then if you were feeling a bit grog the days after, I wonder whether you were going down with that at that point. It could have been.
I have no idea, but as quickly as it came on, I don't think so.
Yeah,
It came on so quickly and went away so quickly that I don't think it had anything to do with that. I think it was just, I'd love to be able to point at that and
yeah.
say, man, had I been healthy, but I was feeling just fine leading into it, so there's no excuses there.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to be some of the very few fortunate people who got one of our A races of 2020 ticked off.
Yeah, yeah, and
'Cause-
and we were even better from that invited to Sweden next.
yes, we were. We need to talk about that, don't we?
So our A race turned into now what do we do?
Yeah, I know. I told Lucy and she just put her hand over her face and shook her head and laughed.
Yeah,
She said, at least it'll probably be cancelled.
yeah. Well, and of all places, Sweden,
Mm,
who knows? Because
you never
it's the
know.
only
Yeah.
country in the world that just remained open for athletics too.
Yeah, no, they've had a different approach, and yeah, time will tell how that all transpires, but it's definitely been, yeah, very interesting to see. I mean, because this whole thing has been one of those unique situations that no one's got a playbook for it. And even,
Yeah.
the UK have handled it differently to different parts of Europe. We have a lot of people that we interact with in sort of Spain and
Hmm.
Italy who've obviously been on like lockdown has been lockdown, you know, not leaving the house, that kind of thing. We've been fairly fortunate because where I am in the UK, at least in the south, in the southwest, is a more sparsely populated. We've been allowed out to exercise every day, which is obviously fantastic if you're an athlete to still have that outlet, even if you can't do the things you normally want to do. I've been out, you know, I've been able to run most days. What's it been like because you're just north of the Bay Area
so I'm just north of San Francisco, and it's actually been, you know, knock on wood, quite comfortable. Where we have access to about 600 kilometers of trails. So it quickly opens up for us residents of this road that we can just go on the trails and run at any point in time. And then cycling is okay here. So you can go for multiple hours. I've seen from some of my athletes in the UK that there's a time restriction, that they're only supposed to run, you know, an hour or two outdoors, versus, you know, disappearing for half the day. But it's from a training standpoint and exercising and staying fit standpoint, it's worked pretty well. Of course, no gyms, of course, no pools. The open water in the Bay Area, while many are doing it, it's just not me. No. It's a little bit too chilly. And sure, you can put on the wetsuit, but that becomes such an ordeal every time when you can just walk out the door and go for a run. So it's been okay that from an exercise and a training standpoint. Of course, not having anything to train for or any type of specificity makes it quite relaxed. So that's why I'm using the term exercising, because it's just sort of staying fit versus any type of specificity or focus towards anything.
Yeah. Is it, as a swimmer, because you're a lifelong swimmer, is this one of the longest periods you've had out of the pool?
It is getting up there. It's getting close. After the games in '92, I took almost a little bit under a year off out of the pool. Because I needed a break. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I wanted to finish my studies. So from there, I definitely was longer. But this has been quite different, because then I was physically and mentally done with the pool. And here I was just enjoying the camaraderie, the friendships, and I was getting ready. I had discussed with you swimming across Lake Tahoe for 21 miles. So it was a curiosity of that new adventure that was exciting. And I had a few friends who were going to join me. So that, of course, disappeared. Technically, could I still do it? Yes, but it's not something I'm going to force and push in this environment.
Yeah, you mentioned the games there. I was going to talk to you about that, because you obviously focused early in your career on getting to the Olympics, achieve that. And, you know, for a lot of athletes, the Olympic Games is a pinnacle thing that they ever do. It's years. I know we read about the people that do multiple Olympics and win multiple medals, but they're the rarest of the rare. You know, for a lot of people, getting qualified and going to the games is like a lifetime achievement. And there's a whole load of people now who had qualified or were trying to qualify for Tokyo 2020. That's been kicked into 21, but they're talking about the realistic possibility that it might not happen at all. Like, put yourself back in the sort of early 92, and you've qualified for the games. How would Chris Hauth, in his 20s, have felt if you'd have had that opportunity removed?
Well, a few things there, and it's interesting you bring that up, because not many have asked me that. But one, I grew up in an environment when I was younger that I was around athletes whose games was canceled with the 1980 and 1984 back and forth between the Soviet Union and the United States. So I was in 80, I was 11 years old. And in 84, I was 15 years old. So I experienced many Olympic swimmers who suddenly were canceled.
And sorry, for people that don't know, that was the US boycott of Moscow in 80, and the sort of tit for tat American Soviet boycott of LA '84.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here you had these swimmers the same way who had all their lives been preparing. I actually was fortunate enough to swim on a US team, a club team where they had a world record holder in the 200 butterfly on that team. And he all of a sudden, in the prime of his career in 1979-80, could not go to the Olympic Games because it was boycotted.
Yeah.
So there was that sort of in my psyche, familiarity with that and how they're feeling now. And but also, I was so surprised, shocked, not expecting making the Olympic Games because I was not that good. But very similarly to a situation where your environment completely changes, your situation completely changes. The East German and West German teams had united, the countries had united. And because of that, the East German facilities, the East German economy, the East German daily routine and format and coaches had all crumbled and disappeared. So all the swimmers that were better than me when the teams united, all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, ever so gently dropped off in their ability to train. They didn't have pools because nobody had the finances to deal with the facilities. The pools were turning green with algae. And now all of a sudden, all of them had to get a job. There was no longer a government-supported system like the communist system for athletics. So similar to now, their world turned upside down as soon as the two countries unified. And it allowed me to have this very unique opportunity to suddenly qualify for something that I was not expecting. So that was the backdrop. But imagining where they are right now, because this was so sudden and from a complete, the entire world stopping, that will deal with this trauma for a long time. And now is it opportunity for a younger generation that might have not made it this year, that makes it next year, and now can do 2 Olympics in 3 years? What we don't know. Will they move back the cycle of 4 years because of this for generations to come? There's so many question marks, but as athletes, especially those at that level, I do know they're all compartmentalizing and focusing on becoming the best possible athletes they can become by later this summer, by the fall, by the winter, and by next summer, and just step by step. And although dreams are shattered, it's also what athletes at that level live with all the time. They see it all the time, especially in the United States, where swimming, there is no national championship for the Olympic team. It's a separate event. And it's the only event where the top 2, let's say in swimming, because I'm talking about swimming now, they have a separate event, the Olympic trials, and only the top 2. There are no medals. There are no real awards. You just get your name on a wall and you're successfully on the Olympic team. You get 3rd place. Anywhere else in the world, that would be, possibly a bronze medal at the Olympics. But here, it means nothing. It just, you just walk away from the pool despite such a unique achievement. And so the heartbreaking aspect of this is familiar to the swimmers. But still, it is such a unique time in that I believe in the athletic world, just like we see in the overall world, it highlights personality traits. It highlights who will succeed and grow in this and who will sort of pull the tortoise and pull their head back into their shell and not be.
I couldn't agree more. And I think I've been talking a lot to anyone who listen. I had a drink a week or two, probably 2 weeks ago now, with Sarah Crowley, who was 3rd in Kona last year. And Sarah's, we work with tons of great athletes. I'm not going to single out kind of favorites, but Sarah is someone I've got a massive amount of respect for. And I thought, I wonder what her take and feeling on this is going to be. And she's someone who's probably a little bit later on in her career in terms of age group. So this is an important year for her. And I said, how do you feel about this year being taken away? And she said, well, basically, it feels to me like this will lengthen my career in the end, because when you're training really, really hard as an ultra endurance athlete, when do you ever get the chance to hit the pause button and regroup? And like she said, oh, this will give me an extra couple of years on the back end, so I'm not worried. And I thought, what a great attitude.
Great attitude. And again, for many of us ultra endurance athletes, getting the fog of fatigue to clear for a little bit and recognize and listen to our body and realize, wow, either I was very tired, or I was missing something nutritionally, or I just needed a break, and it allows me to reset like this. It's fantastic.
Yeah, is that the kind of, because I know you coach a lot of athletes doing some really phenomenal challenges, kind of often off the beaten path challenges. What kind of messaging are you giving them at the moment?
Again, I call this stoppage time, just like you were just sort of saying or talking about. It's sort of a moment in time, whether it's 6 weeks or 6 months, where the world has basically stood still. And we have a unique opportunity to grow as athletes, to come out stronger, more technically sound, to work on our running form, our cycling form, our swim form via stretch chords and so forth. Again, there's an opportunity to be a better athlete on the other side of this than we were coming into it, without the stress. Slow down and think of the things I want to improve upon, strengthen, working on my limiters. That's what we've been working a lot towards for most of my athletes. I've been spending a lot of time videotaping, or them videoing themselves and analyzing their run form and their open water swim form and their cycling form, so that the time that they're training now is truly valuable for when the urgency of events, and we start thinking of we overlook the little things again, kick out. And that's been sort of fun too for me as a coach, because it allows me to really get into the weeds with athletes that I haven't before, because they're always urgently working towards their next achievement or their next event. And this just allows me to get to know the athlete better and work with them on a more personal level, on a more technically sound level, fundamentals, and knowing and them feeling eventually, wow, I'm getting to be a better athlete overall.
It's a good point. A question I wanted to ask you about your setup and situation was, because this all happened so fast, a lot of us have been, we left the office one Thursday. We then didn't go back in on the Friday, and then I've basically not been back in since, because I brought my computer and other things with me, and I've kind of got at home what I've got. And I was lucky because I've got a bike to train on. But I realized very quickly, if I haven't got anything, of course you can always do body weight stuff and stretch chords. I've got no proper strength set up at home, and it's made me think, actually, that's something I'm going to improve going forward. Is there anything that it's made me realize that you're lacking, apart from maybe like a 50-meter Olympic pool in your garden?
Well, for us, we've been doing a lot of, for me personally, I've had most of that equipment. I didn't join a gym until about 1.5 years ago. But now, having most of that equipment, and then, beautiful Amazon keeps delivering a few things. But I had the weighted vests and so forth, and a few strength, a few weights and equipment. Nothing dramatic, but enough to do enough at home, which is what I transferred to a lot of athletes as well. And that's what I've spent the last 6 to 8 weeks working on a lot as well. And that is just figuring out the best motions and at-home gym type of work that we can be doing that translates to their adventure or discipline or next event. A lot of step-ups, a lot of loaded work with the vest, a lot of rucking and hiking with the loaded vests, a lot of at-home work like burpees and sandbag work and so forth, so that we just keep the body strong and resilient, and again, avoiding injury, so that in this time of stoppage time, as I keep calling it,
Yeah.
that we're staying healthy and strong and fit.
Yeah. I saw, as well as sort of like flexing your muscles, keeping your body fit, I saw that you put one of your recent reading lists up on Instagram,
Yeah,
maybe, or somewhere. I saw it.
yeah,
I enjoyed looking through that because it was at least 60% of the books I've read or been reading. So I thought,
yeah,
great
yeah. I've been
minds and all that. What's been the favorite thing that you've either read or watched or listened to recently?
One of them was surely that book that I put up there, Infinite Game, by
Yes.
Simon Sinek, which was really just a fun
Yeah.
listen. And because that one I listen to, I walk my dogs every evening and I have a little bit of an
Yeah.
audiobook time there. And so you get through them fairly
Mm,
quickly, but that was really enjoyable. And, reading that Sapiens currently in this environment and
yeah.
seeing us as humans, how this will surely pass, and
Yeah.
how we as a society will probably say and say, wow, um, we were panicked in the moment, but I think we'll be fine.
We'll pull through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we've talked a lot, this because there's been a lot of we've had to do a lot of adjusting as a business into this phase, and a lot of it, you can't sugarcoat it. It's been tough, but there have been some very good things that have come out of this. For us as a company, we've become really adept at working remotely really quickly, and that's been good. The team, I'm actually speaking to some people in the team probably even more than I would have done previously, because we're having scheduled calls, and you're not reliant on ad hoc crossover to talk to people.
Yeah.
Everything's a lot more structured. The other thing on a personal level has been that my kids have learned to ride their bikes really well, because it's been a great form of getting out, and we've always tried to get them doing it, and we've had a bit of success, but really it was like this last 6 weeks we've had decent weather. We've been fortunate, we've been out. Bobby actually came with me on a 6 or 7 mile run the other day, and it was a good paced run, and he just pedaled around on his bike, and that was kind of one of those great life goal moments that I've been dreaming about for a while. So what have you found that has been a good thing that's come out of it for you?
Yeah, for me, for sure, the connection with my athletes has
Mm.
truly improved. I work from home anyway, so in that setting, nothing has changed that much.
Yeah.
But the Zoom calls and working more as a community with them, that we all get together and seeing them on a weekly basis. I set up a weekly Zoom call with all my athletes. So seeing them from around the world, from Africa to Asia to Manila to Europe to the United States, and having this amazing group all unite on a Zoom call and get to know each other has been one of the big positives out of this.
Mm.
And then, yes, of course, on a personal level, being home for 8 weeks has been, with teenagers, is a different scenario versus some younger kids, and them having different interests than I might, with
Yeah.
regards to exercise or with regards to being outside,
Yeah.
where they prefer the video games and so
Yeah.
forth. But it's of course been valuable, and for Emily, um, my better half, who has just had hamstring surgery, and us spending a lot of time together, which we always do. We both work from home, but it's even then been more focused and more, because you're on quarantine together, you spend more quality time together, because
Yeah.
there's no just disappearing or going on travel or going on a long bike ride. What's the point?
Yeah.
So you spend more quality time together, and for sure, this is a time we will surely never forget.
Yeah, I've been telling my kids that they're a little bit young to fully grasp it, but
Mhm.
um, Bobby is taken to calling it the Corona holiday, because that's what it is to him. He's off school, and I actually asked him the other day. I said, what do you like? Do you like going to school and normal, or do you like the Corona holiday thing? And he's like, oh, the holiday, definitely. So it's
I
amazing.
love
I
it.
know we're lucky, and I know that the kids are relatively insulated from the realities of what's going on in the world, as it were.
Yeah.
But it is quite, at least, reassuring to know that for them, this is very much like seen as a good thing. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
and
what
they'll
I'm.
remember it. They'll
Yeah,
remember it forever. I mean, even though they might be younger, they'll remember this time. My kids will surely remember it with, never returning. Two of my girls will never return to the school they were at because they move on to the next school, high school. And so they all of a sudden, from one day to the next, they said goodbye to those teachers, not even said goodbye. They were on Zoom calls with them. But they will never go back to that school. And it's sort of not sad because they're ready to move on to high school anyway.
Yeah.
But it's just different. It's a meaningful experience that they will remember. And so all of that, as we keep coming across so many scenarios, I would say there's not a day where you're not recognizing or realizing that, wow, that will never return, or that will never be the same. And it's some of them aren't as emotionally impactful, but they're definitely impactful, where in a few years from now, we'll remember, wow, yeah, once I realized that XYZ happened or something. And this is a fascinating time, in my opinion, just observing humanity, just observing athletes, observing our governments, observing us as a society, observing all the things that are changing so quickly that it's, you're just sort of strapped in with your seatbelt on a roller coaster, observing everything that's happening around us. And I think it's fascinating.
Good stuff. Well, to close, Chris, what I'm going to ask you now is, on the micro level, what training are you doing today?
Well, today I have a run and 1,000 stretch cord pulls. So each take about an hour. But I've switched over, the stretch cords for me, I've turned into swim workouts, because I'll do, let's say, I know my stroke rate per 25 meters or whatever. And then I'll just adjust. If I have a 400 freestyle or 10 times 100 freestyle, I'll just do, 10 times 40 pulls with 40 seconds rest. And that'll be 10 times 100. So the stroke count remains the same. It's a little bit more resistance and work than pulling myself through the water, pulling on a stretch cord, but I have all kinds of different settings. So I'll do that. About 1,000 of those equals about 4,000 yards or meters. And then nice, easy run in the woods today. Should be nice. It rained yesterday, so it'll be soft and smelling well. So that'll be a fun training day.
Very good. Well, it sounds like good training for someone who might be preparing for the OtillO World Championship. So, if you decide that that's on, like, give me a call. I'll the most I can promise is I'll help you to find someone who who can do it with you. But I've got a good Rolodex of people who've done it before.
If I come to Europe and it's only because of OtillO, my family would give me so much grief. The fact that we've been asking you to come as soon as it's a possibility, and if I just circumvent that and go to Stockholm, that would not be a good thing.
No, I think we gotta hope that we can do it in 2021, mate. I reckon.
I hope so too. That would be amazing, and another year stronger, faster, fitter, and smarter. How many times have you done it then?
So I've done it. Is it twice or three? I've done it 3 times. Yeah, I did it with Elliot in 2014. I did it with Paul the year
we did.
I was there. Did it. Yeah, and then I did it with JP last year. So and every year I've gone, nah, never again.
And I've done it twice. So we shall see. It's one of those things I've learned not to say never.
Don't commit either way. That's the best way. Exactly. Good stuff. Well, it was lovely catching up with you, mate.
It was great to catch up.
We'll stay in touch and stay well. I'll speak to you again soon.
You guys stay healthy, and regards to your wonderful family.
Thanks, Chris. Bye-bye.
See ya.